Most people think the hardest questions in life are the ones we cannot answer. At 90 years old, I have learned the more dangerous ones are the questions we never stop to ask. My name is Walter. I am 90 years old, and there is one question I wish I had asked myself much sooner than I did.
I grew up in a time when life moved forward, whether you were ready or not. You finished school, found work, started a family, and kept going. No one sat you down to ask what kind of man you wanted to become, only what kind of job you could hold. I was good at staying busy. I was good at showing up. I was good at doing what was expected. And because of that, I rarely paused long enough to wonder why I was doing any of it. I worked for over 40 years in the same field. It paid the bills, put food on the table, and gave me something to introduce myself as. People respected that. I respected it too. At least, I told myself I did. When my children were young, I thought being a good provider was the same as being a good father. I missed dinners. I missed quiet moments. I missed chances to sit on the floor and listen instead of standing by the door thinking about tomorrow. At the time, it felt responsible. Looking back, it feels unfinished. The question I never asked myself was simple, almost uncomfortably simple. Is this life I am building actually the one I want to be living? Or is it just the one I fell into? I avoided that question because it did not have an easy answer, and because answering it might have required change. Change is expensive when you are young, but it feels even more costly when you have responsibilities and expectations weighing on you. Years passed quietly. Success arrived in small, polite ways, promotions, acknowledgments, routines that became permanent. I told myself there would be time later to slow down and think. Later became a habit, and habits are hard to break. It was not until my wife passed that the noise finally settled. The house grew quiet in a way I was not prepared for. In that silence, the question I had avoided for decades finally spoke clearly. I realized how many choices I had made automatically, how often I had chosen what felt safe over what felt true. I was not unhappy, but I was not fully awake either. There is a difference, and you only feel it when the days start to feel counted instead of endless. Regret did not arrive as a dramatic wave. It arrived as small moments of noticing, photos I did not remember being there for, conversations I rushed through, dreams I postponed until they quietly expired. What surprised me most was that the question did not accuse me. It did not say I failed. It simply asked me to look honestly at the life I had lived and decide how I wanted to live whatever time remained. That was the first time I felt a kind of peace that did not depend on productivity or approval. I started calling people just to hear their voices. I sat longer in the mornings without needing a reason. I listened more than I spoke. None of it fixed the past, but it softened it. If I could speak to you directly, I would not tell you to change everything or abandon responsibility. I would only suggest that you ask yourself the question now, while it still has room to move. Are you living intentionally, or are you simply moving fast enough not to notice? The answer does not need to come all at once. It rarely does. But asking is how awareness begins. At 90, I no longer fear the question. I wish I had met it earlier, not because my life was wrong, but because it could have been more awake. If you take anything from my story, let it be this. Pause long enough to ask yourself why you are doing what you are doing. The question may feel uncomfortable, but it is far kinder than silence.